Cheers. Thank you, viewers. Welcome to day 7. Today we are leaving Tbilisi. Yes, we are. Today is a day that we leave Tbilisi and we head out to the military road all the way to about 12 clicks before Russia, where we stop in Kazbegi, have some beers, relax, and through the way, we're just going to go visit some fortresses, some really ancient churches, really ancient monasteries, and other more churches. So, as you notice through all the days, churches, monasteries, churches, a couple mosques, more churches, and more churches, and of course, along the way, drinking some good wine, enjoying some good food, enjoying some good beer. So, welcome to day 7. Today, I have my co host, like I did in day 6. But my co host, I had to let the one in day 6 go. I chose this one. Accent's pretty cool. Reminds me of the times I went to France. We'll check that out in another video. But today, let's go. Let's talk a little bit about day 7.
Ha! All right, viewers, you heard it. Day 7, leaving Tbilisi, heading up the military road all the way to Kazbegi, 12 kilometers from Russia. Ancient churches, monasteries, fortresses, and yeah, you've noticed by now this trip is basically churches, monasteries, more churches, wine, food, beer. That's the pattern. So let's go. You leave the city behind and head north. And the first stop that sets the tone for everything that comes next is Jvari Monastery. Hilltop, rocky, ancient stone. And when you stand outside and look down, you see two rivers merging in the valley below, the Aragvi and the Mtskheta coming together. Mountains on all sides. That's the view that inspired a Russian poet back in 1840, Lermontov. He called it one of the most beautiful sights in the Caucasus, built in the 590s AD. 1400 years of standing on that hilltop. The name means cross, because Saint Nino, who brought Christianity to Georgia, erected a wooden cross there centuries before the monastery was even built. So it feels like a fortress, hilltop position, stone walls, but it was built to protect something spiritual, not military. What was that moment like standing up there looking down at those rivers?
I actually needed you to be there to explain it to me. It was interesting. I was with a tour guide, and of course, it was in a different language. And I'm sorry, an awesome tour guide. You can see her information below. Um, yes, um, she has a Facebook.
Absolutely. Shout out to Natia K, your
Not
Georgia
okay.
guide. She's been with you the whole Georgia leg, speaking German, taking you through all these places. Her Facebook is linked below for anyone watching who wants to connect. And hey, that's exactly it. You needed that context. Svetitskhoveli without understanding what you're standing on top of. It's just an old church. But once you know the story, the robe, the royal tombs in the floor, the spiritual weight of it all, suddenly you're standing somewhere that matters deeply to millions of people. That's what makes these places real. It's not just the building, it's the why behind it. So you're leaving Svetitskhoveli, and then you step outside into Mtskheta Old Town itself. What was that experience like, walking through the actual town?
For me, it felt as it was so surreal. I felt like I was back in Epcot Center somehow. It's just Disney does a good job on reflecting a lot of these places, these cities, these countries, and so it just felt like that. And it was, one vendor after the other. So for me, it wasn't very foreign, but I was still very pretty town. And sometimes I do kind of get away and just kind of imagine a little bit and try to, man, if I had a time machine and I go back, and how would this look while everybody's walking around me? And it's just an entertaining piece for my brain, where I just found it. I found it very, very pretty little town, and you can get a lot of nice stuff. And I really, this is where I really started getting into more of the promaga. I can't even say it. Pomegranate juice.
Pomegranate. You started getting into pomegranate juice there in Mtskheta. That's brilliant, and yeah, that juice is everywhere in the Caucasus. It's like liquid gold in these towns, and I hear you on the Epcot feeling. That's actually a compliment to how preserved these old towns are. Disney tries to recreate that authenticity, but Mtskheta is the real thing. Narrow cobblestone streets, vendors on every corner, the smell of herbs and spices, the architecture exactly as it was centuries ago. But because it's still lived in, not museumified, it has that energy. And that's what you're doing. Standing there, imagining how it looked when it was actually bustling. Kings walking those streets, traders, merchants from the Silk Road, the energy that made it matter. That's the good travel brain right there. So you've got your pomegranate juice, you've walked the old town, and now it's time for the drive.
Oh.
The Georgian Military Highway. This is where the day shifts completely. You're leaving the ancient towns behind and heading up into the mountains. And JJ, this drive is legendary. Trucks, potholes, blind corners, cows on the road. Your notes say it was nuts. What was that drive actually like from your seat?
You know, I just was trying to get the videos and trying to enjoy it at the same time, and just climbing up that mountain range, and then the chaos because of the traffic, of the lining of all the trucks, and then someone trying to pass on one side while another person trying to pass. So you're trying to fit a truck, a big Mercedes 12 passenger van, plus a small Fiat, trying to fit in one road, while if one just tilts over, is just going to roll down the hill. And it was an insane organized chaos, from what I saw. And I can see that in deep winter, how that could be a very big problem in that area. But it was just a surreal drive, and a great experience at the same time.
Man, that's the real picture. 3 vehicles trying to occupy the same space on a mountain road where there's basically no margin for error. Mercedes van, truck, Fiat, all jockeying for position while the drop-off is right there. One mistake and someone's rolling. And you're trying to film it at the same time, which means you're watching through a camera lens while this chaos is happening around you. That's a different kind of stress. The thing is, that's just normal Tuesday for people who live up there. They drive that road constantly, but for you, coming from Europe where roads are, let's be honest, predictable and safe, that's genuinely terrifying. Organized chaos is the perfect way to describe it. There's no rage, no aggression, it's just nobody's got time to wait. Everyone's passing, everyone's moving, and somehow it works. And yeah, in deep winter, that road becomes genuinely dangerous. People die on that highway in bad weather. You drove it in decent conditions and it was still wild. So you're climbing, you're navigating this madness, and then you come around the corner and you see Ananuri Fortress complex rising up above this turquoise reservoir. That's got to be a moment of relief, right? A place to actually stop and breathe.
Ah, yes, the Ananuri fortified castle. I'm sorry. Yes, my bad. God, sometimes you just mix things up a little bit. Yeah, that was the last stop before. So, yes, the last stop before the until we got to the hotel. Oh,
Okay, so Ananuri was the stop. You did go there, that fortified castle above the turquoise reservoir. So you pull up after that wild drive, you see this fortress. What was that experience like? What stands out?
it was it was really nice. I think from what I remember, I was tired already because we were driving quite some time. But it was just it was a pretty fortress, and you really did see out to the lake. Um, but I didn't have too much vibes on it. What was some history behind that fortress again?
So Ananuri Fortress Complex sits above the Zhinvali Reservoir, that turquoise lake you're looking at. It's actually a collection of fortified structures built over centuries, starting way back. It was a stronghold for local Georgian lords, meant to control and protect the trade routes moving through the mountains. Strategic position, commanding views of the valleys below and the lake. The thing is, you're right to feel a bit tired. You've just come off one of the wildest drives of your life. Your adrenaline is crashing. You pull up to see a pretty fortress above a beautiful turquoise lake, and yeah, it's gorgeous, but you're also exhausted. Sometimes the best moments don't hit when you're running on empty. That said, after Ananuri, you're still climbing. You've got the Palm Cross Pass ahead of you, which is 2,379 meters up. That's where the real mountain moment happens. Did you feel the elevation shift as you got higher? The air getting thinner, colder?
Hell yeah, I did. That was that you see the snow piling up, snow getting thicker, the clouds getting thicker, the temperature dropping. You're basically, for me, I felt like I was up in the clouds in this road, and it was constant traffic, constant maneuvering. So it was just a wild ride up all the way to Kazbegi.
That's it right there. You're climbing into the clouds. Actual clouds. Snow piling up on the sides of the road, temperature dropping, the air getting thinner, and the traffic never stops, trucks still passing, vehicles still jockeying for position, even as visibility is dropping and the road is getting narrower and more treacherous. You're in the clouds on a mountain pass at nearly 2,400 meters, with dozens of other vehicles all trying to get somewhere. That's not just a drive, that's an experience. That's the kind of moment where you stop thinking about comfort and just focus on staying alive. And then, somewhere through all that chaos and snow and clouds, you break through and you arrive at Memoir Hotel in Kazbegi. You made it. You're at the top of the mountain. Russia is 12 kilometers away. You can see Mount Kazbek rising above everything. What was that first moment like when you pulled up to the hotel? When you finally stopped moving after hours of that intensity?
Effing cool. It was really knowing that I am 12 kilometers from a country that I would actually like to visit. I am drove through a passage of history, and then seeing a monastery in front of me that is ancient, and then behind that, very peak on this day, able to see that enormous mountain. Then looking around the town, it looks rugged. The hotel was amazing. Great bar to relax, and ended up with some good tasty Kazbegi beer.
That's the moment right there. You've driven through literal history. The Georgian Military Highway, the mountain passes, the centuries of trade routes. You pull up and there's a monastery in front of you, ancient, still standing. Behind it, Mount Kazbek rising up, the third tallest peak in the Caucasus at over 5,000 meters. And you're 12 kilometers from Russia, you can feel that proximity. The town is rugged, raw, not polished, real. And then the hotel, Memoir Hotel, is a sanctuary after that drive. A good bar, a cold Kazbegi beer. That's earned, man. That's the reward after pushing through the clouds and the chaos and the snow. You've basically climbed from sea level in Baku through Azerbaijan, crossed into Georgia, walked through ancient cathedrals and monasteries, survived the military highway, and now you're sitting at 2,400 meters looking at one of the tallest mountains in the world with Russia on the other side of that ridge. Day 7, done. And tomorrow, day 8, you're going up even higher, to the church at the top of the world. How's that for wrapping day 7 for your viewers?
And that's the wrap. Thank you, viewers, for watching. If you're this far, like, subscribe. I would put everything in the comments below. I'll put in the description, the hotel link. If you have any questions, ask me. This was Claude. This was day 7. See you in day 8. Ciao.
Left Tbilisi in the morning light, chasing mountains, chasing ancient sites. Georgia rolling out in front of me. This ain't Georgian, this is history. First stop, Jvari on that rocky hill. 2 rivers merging down below, man, it gave me chills. Finally, they built this stone. Saint Nino planted across here, now it's overgrown. With 1,400 years of prayer and rain, Lamanto wrote about this view, I feel the same. Spiritual fortress on a hilltop high, standing at the confluence, watching eagles fly. Road to Kazbegi, 12 clicks from Russia. Georgian Military Highway, not gonna stop us. Snow on the mountains, clouds in my face. Ancient churches everywhere, ancient holy place. Road to Kazbegi, climbing through the clouds. Trucks and potholes, chaos in the crowd. Made it to the top, now beer in my hand. 12 kilometers from Russia, on Georgian land. Svetitskhoveli pillar of life, cathedral standing since the 11th century, right? Robe of Christ buried somewhere in the floor. Kings and queens beneath my feet, what are we walking for? Mtskheta old town feels like Epcot but real. Pomegranate juice in hand, that's the Caucasus deal. Vendors on every corner, cobblestones worn. This town was trading silk before your country was born. Road to Kazbegi, 12 clicks from Russia. Georgian Military Highway, not gonna stop us. Snow on the mountains, clouds in my face. Ancient churches everywhere, ancient holy place. Road to Kazbegi, climbing through the clouds. Trucks and potholes, chaos in the crowd. Made it to the top, now beer in my hand. 12 kilometers from Russia, on Georgian land. Ananuri Fortress above the turquoise lake. Tired from the drive, but I'm wide awake. In the pass at 2,400 meters high, literally driving through clouds in the sky. Mercedes van, a truck, a Fiat 2, 3 vehicles, 1 road. What you gonna do? Organized chaos, nobody dies. Just Caucasus mountain life in front of my eyes. Pulled up to Memoir, the hotel was clean. Rugged little town, most beautiful I've seen. Monastery in front of me, ancient and proud. Mount Kazbek rising behind it through the cloud. 5,000 meters of Georgian stone. Russia 12 clicks away, but I feel at home. Kazbegi beer in hand at the bar. Day 7 done and we haven't gone far. Road to Kazbegi,
1,400 years of stone.
road to Kazbegi,
Never felt less alone.
road to Kazbegi.